Hi, this is Osman. I'm an energy healer, yoga and meditation teacher, and an entrepreneur. Please be sure to visit my website, yogawellness786.com, for more information on our services as well as contact information. Please remember that our therapies are all natural based therapies and not a replacement for medical treatment. If you have a medical condition, please be sure to visit a qualified and licensed medical professional in your locality. Today I wanted to speak on my experience with Dr. Brook Goldner's green smoothie protocol. So if you haven't heard about it, you can search in YouTube for Dr. Brook Goldner, Brooke, and Goldner, Goldner. And she is very famous for her green smoothie and recovering autoimmune illnesses and inflammatory conditions. But from my experience, with observing all her videos as well as trying the products or trying her recommendation as well, she has got massive success in reversing almost every kind of illness. I mean, I use it as an integral part of my cancer treatment. So of course, it has a tremendous boost in improving your immune system, and especially if you're undergoing chemotherapy or radiation therapy, which depletes your immune system. Have consuming some type of food that acts to counteract the loss or the decline or the depletion of your immune system is something very helpful. Okay, so in my experience of it, I tried it for 90 days strictly without consuming any other foods, just having her green smoothie as recommended and consuming a lot of water, right? I consumed, I would say, almost double the recommendation of water in terms of liters. Almost 3 liters of water is the recommendation, and I consumed, I would say, about 5 liters. Right? So the minimum she requires is 2.8 liters actually, and I consumed 5 liters a day. Because I miscalculated, because she gave the recommendation in ounces, and me being originally from South Africa, I'm not familiar with that system. I'm familiar with the metric system with centimeters, meters, kilometers, as opposed to miles and ounces. So you can do the conversion yourself. Or I mean, you watch the videos directly, right? She gives everything in ounces, so you'll be able to understand. So I'm been long-term, suffering with neuropathy, and I found that it was the most effective system in bringing reversing, I would say, 99% of my neuropathy. For the very first time, I noticed that percentage of reversal of neuropathy in just 90 days, right? So she promises within 28 days you can completely reverse, illnesses, or in 6 weeks. She's got a 28-day protocol and a 6-week protocol. So I took it further to 90 days, and it wasn't completely reversed, right? But I mean, 99% is a massive improvement. From if I had continued a little bit further, probably 100%. But what I wanted to do is, once I've reached the level of 99%, I wanted to experiment, with once a week having one of my favorite meals, which is a vegan bowl. So I wanted to stick to the vegan recommendation of Dr. Brook Goldner, and myself being, mostly, I would say, 99% vegan, unless the circumstances does not permit. For example, I'm traveling for a long distance over a flight, and it's very difficult, to get a whole foods vegan meal. But to get a vegetarian meal is much easier, and to avoid carbs is impossible. When you are flying, so they give you, like for example, an apple crumble for breakfast, right? So blueberry crumble, right? So how it's got sugar, it's got refined carbohydrates, and these two things are prohibited in Dr. Brook Goldner's protocol. But once a week, I did not go so far. I just went on a vegan bowl. But in the vegan bowl were salads and vegetable items, which are all allowed, right? Raw. And there was what was not recommended, something called hummus, which is chickpeas, which is blended to a paste. And I think they just blend it with water. And so she says that will add the omega-6s, as well as I had, I think about a handful of, or less than a handful of brown rice in the probably a handful, in the bowl. So the brown rice, but just a small quantity and just once a week. And it did not negatively impact or cause any major reversal, of any healing that took place in my neuropathy. But as I started to consume, regular foods more, when I traveled and I went to locations where I couldn't prepare my own meals, and I was traveling across countries. And when I arrived on the other side, I had to adapt to a vegetarian diet, and I tried to stick to vegetarian keto, but it wasn't very easy, especially when you are unable to purchase your own food items, and it was someone else's home that I was in, and I had to adapt to the conditions and what was available for me to purchase. So I had to purchase my foods online, with the delivery system, and it was generally fast foods, and that created a steep decline in all the progress. So it reversed all the progress that I had made. That 99% progress was, like, I wouldn't say completely lost, but I would say more than 90% lost, right? So some of the neuropathy reversal, lingered on, but a very small percentage of it. So it is, according to Dr. Brook Goldner, it's required to stay in the protocol after healing for some time. And in her own example, when she healed from the autoimmune condition, she continued strictly with the protocol, not introducing any cooked foods or even steamed vegetables or anything, just sticking purely to raw cruciferous veggies and the flax seeds, blended with a 25% volume of fruit, and stayed that way for at least 2 years after she completely recovered and had zero markers for autoimmune, before slowly introducing steamed vegetables, right? Not going into rice and sugar or anything. I think she doesn't, till today she doesn't have that. But on occasion, she has cooked veggies, and she says once, and she found that as long as she was having a smoothies every day, the one container full, 1.8 liter full, every day, and she found that occasionally having, cooked veggies and I think lentils and so forth, she started to introduce it, and it didn't have any negative effect. So once you try this protocol, I would recommend that, you will find tremendous improvement, but for complete improvement, depending on your condition and how long it was there, could take up to 6 months, right? Because there was some people who reported, there was one person who was struggling with, erectile dysfunction, and he found that he got cured of it after 6 months of being on the protocol. So once you are cured of it, you have to remain on the protocol for at least 2 years. So here's the problem with the protocol, right? So it is something not very easy to stick on if you are in a social environment, because you have your favorite foods. Maybe you love your cheese, you love your chicken, you love your steak, and you really love certain food items, and everyone around you is eating normal, right? And especially if you're not living alone, and you're living with family members or friends, and they're all eating normal foods and having a double thick milkshake, or some ice cream, all these things is going to be very difficult and very tempting, for you to break your protocol. If you break your protocol with those type of items, you're gonna start reversing and causing a decline in your healing, and probably reversing the healing process as well. So you need to make a firm mindset that you want to stick to the protocol to remove it. Now, in addition to the actual reason I went for, I found other benefits. So one of the other benefits is, amazingly, for the first time in my life, I was losing belly fat so fast, because usually the fat in your hips, right, the love handles, is like almost impossible to get rid of. You can go stick on a strict diet, calorie restricted diet, going to the gym, working out. I mean, I've done a very strict diets, right, calorie restricted diet, but a wholesome omnivore diet, right? And going to the gym, working out, doing cardio and strength training for about 2 hours a day, right, using weights, right? And it was not easy. I mean, I didn't find any significant decrease in the abdominal fat. Yes, over, I would say, a 6-month period, I could see my body assuming a good shape, and my six-pack was starting to form. I could notice that, but the abdominal, if I felt the side, I could still feel, as though there was no decrease, in the fat. But with just 90 days, it was like almost gone, right? And abdominal. So always the number one question that people ask in weight loss, you can see I'm wearing this lose weight now, ask me how, using the Herbalife protocol, which is much easier than the Brook Goldner protocol. But the Herbalife protocol, they promise a 2 to 5 kg decrease over a 6-month period, right? That is 4 to 10 pounds over 6 months. But with the Brook Goldner protocol, I lost centimeters, very fast. Month by month, I was losing noticeably, and there was a massive loss, of abdominal fat. And abdominal, or the visceral fat, is actually the dangerous fat, or the illness causing or illness contributing fat, which one needs to try to get rid of. And most of the fitness trainers say the only way, you can't specifically target your abdominal fat, you have to go and do overall fat loss, and that's how you can reduce your abdominal fat. But the overall fat loss is also very slow, right, relatively speaking, compared to all the diets that I've tried. And I've been very disciplined in most of the diets, probably not as disciplined as some of the professional fitness athletes, or the weight training athletes, professional professional weightlifting, or professional bodybuilding professionals, maybe not on that level, but for an average person, I would say quite very disciplined. And following the Brook Goldner protocol was absolutely amazing. And another amazing thing, from a yoga science point of view, I found that my life force energy was increasing much more rapidly, than, because I was working on increasing the strength levels of my life force energy for about 5 years prior to starting or 6 years prior to starting the Brook Goldner protocol. And suddenly during the protocol, it started to increase at a much faster rate. And I found that my flexibility in the yoga postures was much greater. I was able to attain flexibility levels that I could only have attained, only attained during my teenage years, when I was, at the peak, of my yoga flexibility. And I was able to perform all those postures as though I was still that age. And in yoga science, the increase in flexibility is directly proportionate to the increase in the amount of life force energy in your body. So it became so full of life force energy like that of a teenager. Although I do feel energetic in terms of, my general feeling of energeticness like a teenager normally, but the flexibility was not on that level. Although I am very flexible, I'm able to perform all the yoga postures that I normally perform, both the the basic and some of the advanced postures. I don't go too much into the advanced postures. I try to stick more within normal to slightly advanced levels, so to be a good example to regular people, and my students, because I didn't want to perform postures is gonna create fear in my students, from attending, because most people may think that these are levels that are impossible. But I felt great flexibility, in my body, which is something very unique. I mean, I've been on vegan diets and pure whole foods, plant-based diets, and I never find that surge of the life force energy. And one of the goals of yoga science is to improve your life force energy, to increase the life force energy to as high as possible. And this is the only protocol. Dr. Brook Goldner's was the only protocol that brought this about. Briefly, she uses cruciferous vegetables, and the ones that were available to me at the time whilst I was in Turkey was cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, and spinach, right? So and spinach wasn't always available. I don't know why in Turkey it's so difficult to find spinach, yet it's one of their delicacies. But cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage, especially the green and the purple cabbage, was freely available. So I interchanged, these vegetables together with, a half a cup of flax seeds and a teaspoon of salt, in it. And recently I'm revisiting the protocol because I found that I'm starting to gain weight again, especially around the abdominal region, by consuming a lot of sugary foods and fast foods, and my favorite vegetarian meals, going back into whole foods plant-based vegan, right? Or whole foods plant-based, right? Now going back into the Brook Goldner protocol, and I'm sure that I will lose the abdominal. It's just 1 or 2 inches that I think about an inch that got increased around my waist, just to lose that 1 inch and feel lighter again and feel a greater increase in my energies, and also start working on reversal of my neuropathy at a much faster rate. And this time I'm going in away, after having tried it. She puts, when you listen to the videos, it puts unrealistic expectations on a person, and it's better to have realistic expectations and know that it's going to take at least 3 to 6 months. Within a 3-month period, you'd find a significant improvement in all your health markers, and you have to stick, I think, at least 6 months before you achieve close to or achieve your desired result. And once you reach that level, you have to commit to staying another 2 years on it. So don't look at the 2-year period as a daunting period. Just stick to it and just count the time. Don't look when you'll finish it. Just make a resolve to stay on it and just count the months and the progress, and even if the progress stops, I mean, don't just, deviate from the diet. By deviating, all that progress will reverse, right? Because that's been my experience, with the Dr. Brook Goldner protocol. If you deviate immediately and even after completely recovering and after the 2-year period, you have to be very careful what you introduce, You can only introduce whole foods. Once you introduce your favorite dishes and omnivore diet and meat and chicken and so forth, I don't know. But from my knowledge, because I keep abreast of the scientific knowledge from leading Ivy League universities like Stanford University, professors from Stanford University, and professors from Harvard Medical University as an example, as well as University of California, where Dr. Deepak Chopra used to, I don't think he's still a lecturer there, but he used to be, the head of the psychology department, and used to give a lot of talks, online, and his videos are still available. So I was listening to them. They said that they found there is no negative effect to your body when consuming carnivore diets, right? So the problem is not in either vegetarian or carnivore, according to the Harvard Medical University scientist, professor. The problem is in the refined and processed foods, especially the vegetable oils and the sugars, right? And the refined carbohydrates like your breads and pastas and so forth, right? So, but sticking to like vegetables, fruit, nuts, lentils, meat, chicken, fish, wholesome foods, these, according to them, are not detrimental. So if one sticks to the Brook Goldner protocol strictly and sticking to it, for the 2 years after you've recovered, give credit to, because that system works, right? It worked with thousands of people. So don't try to reinvent the wheel, right? Stick to the formula, especially if you have a condition you want to get rid of. And there are, I know, a lot of people really struggling with obesity and all their life struggling to, get rid of the obesity. And if you stick to this protocol for just that period, you're gonna, I would say you have a very, very big chance, of recovering from almost any condition that you want, that has been troubling you all your life. And then start introducing slowly, your meats, fish and chicken, if you are, not into, a vegan diet and you love your meat, the sacrifice of 2.5 years is sufficient and you want, then observe for yourself and create videos and inform us and inform the public, what your experience was. Or perhaps once I'm fine, I will also perhaps start introducing, these foods slowly and also give you a report on it. So now I'm starting the Brook Goldner protocol, and I'll be, 100% in it, and wait, for a 6-month period. So now it's September 2025. September, October, November 4, then by end of February would be 6 months. And let's see my progress then, and how what my reports are from, from that stage. And thereafter, of course, I also have blindness, and there are many people or a handful of people that reported reversal of their blindness. Even people who had blindness for decades, I think 20 or 30 years, someone had retinitis pigmentosa, found reversal of blindness and was able to identify colors, the green of the broccoli and so forth, So this is amazing. Probably not full eyesight return, but if you can notice objects and colors, I mean, how amazing is that, right? From complete blind. I am completely blind. I don't know whether it's daytime or nighttime. I don't know if the light is on or not. I can see nothing, right? Zero. And if I can reverse that and start start seeing shadows, and be able to identify objects, and that would give me greater independence in my mobility, right? And if I could use my phone, my smartphone, and be able to, use it like a normal person, because at the moment using voiceover and the adaptive software, the accessibility software, I'm able to use 90% of the functionality as a normal person, right? Using the latest iPhone currently, the 16 Pro Max. And I do have some difficulties because I was unable to verify certain, programs, because when I click on the verify button, the voiceover does not have access to it. And there are some problems, certain banking software, it comes out with certain, security keyboards that the voiceover or the screen readers are unable to identify. And it becomes really, challenging to access some of the functionalities. I mean, there's some banking apps that I have. I have multiple bank accounts, and some of my banking accounts I cannot access, adding a beneficiary and so forth. I can only add it in some of my other banking accounts that are more adaptive and friendly to voiceover and the accessibility softwares on my phone. So to be able to recover my eyesight, I believe this is possible, because together with my energy healing, because it's not only the protocol, it's together with the energy healing. So the energy healing is, I found, very miraculous. Without any protocols, it's able to recover or reverse cancers, right? So far, I've had very great success with cancer, in that I've had about 100% success so far, in the last 6 or 7 years, with all the cancer treatments that I performed. And there hasn't been many, probably about 20 or 30, right? And but critical care recoveries also, I've had a good few, probably a dozen critical care recoveries, and they were all 100% successful. Sorry, there was one patient that I had lost. He was too far gone, and I couldn't recover him, and my energy levels were very low because I was doing critical care recovery for 3 people at the same time, and I was in the beginning stages of my energy healing master level. And now my levels are much higher, because I'm working on my energy levels on a daily basis. It is incrementally increasing on a daily basis, over the past 7 years, I would say. And now 7 years later, it's at its highest stage, and every month it's going to the next level higher. And I'm always improving and working on my energy levels. And the Brook Goldner protocol, coming back to this, works very well, with the intrinsic energy levels. So all round, I would say, an A plus, just this thing, don't have unrealistic expectations up front. Just surprise yourself. If it completely, you have complete reversal within a 2-week period, or 4-week period, because people with diabetes show improved markers and no signs of diabetes in the HbA1c. And I mean, that's difficult. You need 3 months before your HbA1c improves. But people have shown improvement in their daily readings, right, doing the blood test and glucose levels, and not finding spikes in it. Of course, you're not going to have a spike because you're having zero glucose, 0 refined sugars, and 0 carbohydrates. I mean, 0 refined carbohydrates. You're having just the vegetables. The vegetables are carbohydrate in nature, right? Especially the cruciferous vegetables. But these are complex carbohydrates, and you're eating natural foods. So hope all this information helps you when you are investigating it. And I would like more and more people, and encourage more and more people to adopt the Brook Goldner protocol. And perhaps you will not need medical intervention eventually. Never ever abandon medical advice or your medication without your doctor. You don't independently leave your medication until your doctor says it's safe for you to do so. Always do things under the supervision of your doctor. Even if you go into the protocol, make sure you're under the supervision of your doctor, right? And they are able to, monitor, your condition and your progress or your deterioration, right? Because there's a possibility certain things may be harmful to you as well. So always consult your doctors, because we are using natural therapies. These are not a replacement for medical treatment. Even Dr. Brook Goldner herself, she's a medical doctor. She's a qualified and licensed practicing medical doctor, board certified medical doctor in multiple states. I think she's now certified and licensed in 3 states, Texas, New York, and I think there's one other state as well. And she's working on increasing the number of states that she's licensed in, as well as she's a board certified psychiatrist as well. And she's done extensive postgraduate or university studies or courses on nutrition science, right? So she's not just talking from, her experience, but also from a scientific perspective, right? So this is the important. And also you can join her direct mentorship. She does charge for that. You can join a mentorship program. Although she has a lot of free videos, you can, connect with her Facebook groups and where, individuals motivate each other. But to get her direct, mentorship where she can observe your medical, your labs and so forth, and give recommendations, especially if you're dealing with serious illnesses, she's also available. But it's when you book, it's like probably 6 months later or so, that the next booking is going to be available, because she's always fully booked, most of the time for immediate. So you have to probably try it on your own first and make a booking, and then especially if you have serious condition, follow her advice, and she is willing to work together with your doctor. She can communicate with recommendations to your doctor, and your doctor can communicate with her as well. I don't think that should be a problem, because she knows what she's talking about. And most doctors are not the regular doctors, depending the medical school that they qualify from. But generally in the medical schools, they do not spend much time on nutrition science, right? On the health benefits of natural foods and so forth. And they spend at best just a few hours, up to 2 to 7 hours, I think, in the entire 13 some odd years of medical training. That goes into like the pre-med 4 years, the medical degree 4 years, and then the residencies and internships, and then specialization thereafter. I mean, the doctors spend a lot of time studying, and that's why I always recommend, because doctors have spent a lot of time specifically on being able to take care of medical conditions. They have spent over a decade on medical conditions. You can't follow a YouTube or some advice or just natural therapies, as much as it can be as ancient as possible. The ancient therapies and medical science is current, right? For 2025 or the 21st century. And the ancient sciences are over 1,500 to 4,500 years old. They don't know the conditions of current day, right? So that is why the importance of tempering everything with medical science. So thank you very much, and I hope this information helps you, and take care always.